Les Dawson was the rubber-faced comedy master who started his career cracking one-liners and playing the piano on the Northern Club circuit. He found national fame in the late 60s on the television talent show Opportunity Knocks, and from that moment on, he had the British public laughing. Les looked funny, and he was funny, instinctively so. Interviewers over the years would struggle to get a serious word out of him. One who tried was Michael Parkinson. So let's begin with a look at Parky, cracking up over territory that Les excelled in. Laughter over language barriers and the classic mother-in-law joke.
You've done some work recently in Germany, haven't you?
Oh.
Did you have to learn German for it, or?
Yeah, I tried.
You tried?
Yeah.
But how do you get the gags over it?
Well, this was the difficult part of it, because when we got there, the fortnight before the show was actually due to go, two of us went to try and suss the scene out to see what they wanted. And the German mentality is something I'd never previously come across, because it's all, you know, faces really like flint. You know, you've no chance. They're really hard, unyielding. So they had a girl there with braided hair, you know, who looked a bit like Danny LaRue. Awful. And she sat there and she said, "You tell me what you are going to do, which is funny, and I will tell all my colleagues around the table." So in this atmosphere, I said, well, the first thing we'd like to do is there is a man sweeping the street. She said, "A man in Straßen fighting with the woman." Yo. I said, "He looks one way," and this is what broke me. She said, "Man looks einfach." Which is German for one way. Right. And I said, "He then looks the other way." She said, "Einfach, um die Straße." I said, "He then lifts up the pavement and brushes the dirt underneath it." And there was a silence like a forgotten tomb. And she said, "I think I should tell you that in Germany, the pavements don't lift up." Frightening, really was frightening.
How did you survive it? Only just?
Yeah, we got through, actually. In fact, considered a mountainous area. They call me that, you know, they're named after a mountain flower over there, the Adelswein. No, it went quite well, but they put a top course on the Berlin Wall after that. It really was frightening, it really was.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to tell a joke about the mother-in-law's brassiere, but I do a joke, you know, I say, I'm not saying she's a big woman, but she hangs a brassiere up to dry, a camel makes love to it. In German, this comes out like "Die Schweiz muss das Busten halten, mit der Haaren mit der Ölfänten befangen." And by the time you've said it, you've forgotten the bloody thing.
What's your mother-in-law? I mean, you've got a mother-in-law, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. She's very nice, actually. She's very nice. She's got a face like a bag of spanners. She once went for a swim in Loch Ness and the monster got up and picked it in the lake.
But what does she think, though, about you? I mean, does she think you're a loving son-in-law?
We got really? Very well together. When we stay at her house, you know, which is decorated in early Dracula, she knows that I am personally very fond of pets. And you can bet your life when I go to bed of a night, there's always a black-widow spider in the corner. She's a very big woman, you know. She has her knickers on a prescription.
Be serious. It's daft. It is daft. It's lovely. That was old. Who was that? That was old Norman.
Norman Evans.
Norman Evans.
You see, one of the beautiful things about on the last series we introduced these two old women in a laundrette, but it is something peculiar to Lancashire, the fact that when two women talk, particularly of that age group, if there's anything at all which they consider risque or something comparable to the female body, they never finish the sentence. This is perfectly true. So you'll get it. So, how's things? I believe she's near a time. Oh, yeah. I believe she had a... And they never finished the sentence. It was really most peculiar, you know, and they used to get things mixed up. I may quote one thing that Peter Maloney from Liverpool.
Oh, he's a
it's
funny
very
man.
True. About the woman in hospital, and this chap said, "How are you?" She said, "I've been very ill, you know." She said, "It's my time of life, I'd have it." She said, "It's a very serious operation. It's called an hysterical rectum." Beautiful.
It does you good to have a laugh.
The pleasure in watching Les Dawson wasn't just about the jokes. There was also the sound of his sentences and the way he used words like a human thesaurus. He discussed this in a programme from 1977 called Word for Word with interviewer Vicky Payne.
Noel Coward made Clapham funny. Private Eye made Neasden funny. King George VI made Bognor funny. But could anyone raise a laugh by saying London? And if not, why not? Les Dawson has some theories. Les Dawson, do you indeed have theories? Why do we perhaps laugh at words or place names like Neasden or Dollis Hill?
I think it's the softness of the word in question. London has a very soft word. It's a very soft sound, therefore it's more of a tenderness almost. There's a fondness about saying London or Landon. If you say Ormskirk, it's staccato, it's straight to the point. Ormskirk. Ghoul. You can't soften Ghoul. And so if you want to build any sort of line on, say, Ghoul, you wouldn't say he was an ex-religious leader from London. Wouldn't sound very funny. But if you said he was a lapsed Methodist from Ghoul, then it starts to become funny.
Do people in the north laugh at places in the south, and do we in the south laugh at places in the north?
Oh, I should think so, yeah. We find Watford seems a very strange name. I fell in love, you know, with the... I used to do a gag where I met the wife at a discount store in Watford. I went in for a lampshade. And I said, "What do you take off for cash?" She said, "Everything but my earrings."
What about individual
words?
About what about individual words as opposed to place names? Can individual words be intrinsically funny on their own?
Oh, yeah. For instance, a marvellous description of a dirty pond. So I threw the stick into the depths and the smell that emerged was positively mauve. And it sums it all up.
You obviously think very hard about the gag itself and about the punchline. Do you think equally hard about the order in which you put the words to achieve the best effect?
Oh, yes, this can happen. I used to do a gag in the act, which never got a laugh. I forget how I used to word it properly now, but I used to say, I wouldn't say my father was lazy, but during the Hunger March from Jarrow in the 30s, he was the only one singing. Now, the way I used to put it before, he used to sing when he was unemployed, so I just switched the thing around and got more of a laugh.
And by the same token, do we laugh at the same words in the south as
Oh,
in
yes.
the north?
Oh, you are slowly more, you know, you're getting educated down here. It's quite true.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh,
yeah.
you are, definitely. It's on the increase.
So you wouldn't alter your act according to whether you were playing in the
No,
north or
I
the
die
south?
in the north and the south equally as well as the other. Makes no difference to me.
Going back to names, we mentioned place names. Do you think individual Christian names are funny, or surnames, or names together?
Well, yes, I think, you know, you can say, for instance, that our love affair was born on the shores of Geneva as the sunlight dappled the waters into fragmentations of patterns. And I turned to Miriam, and, you know, I think the word Miriam after this build-up, probably some very nice Miriams in Ealing. I wouldn't know. But I think that sort of thing, yeah. They're not meant to be terribly funny. It's the connotation you put them in, or the situation you put them in.
Les Dawson, thank you very much indeed for
Will you send the cheque on?
I'll send the
That's
cheque
a very
on.
funny word, Lucy.
For coming on to us. Thank you
It's been a
very
pleasure
much.
to be in this cupboard.
By the mid-80s, Dawson was well established as one of the nation's favourite entertainers, which made him the perfect guest for Roy Plumley's television version of Desert Island Discs, called Favourite Things. And here he is discussing the origins of his routine and his love of writing.
Where did you spend your childhood, Les? Where do you come from?
Originally Manchester. Yes, it was a hard childhood in many ways. Mainly because, although it's difficult for you now, looking at this somewhat magnificent profile, but oddly enough, I was an incredibly ugly baby. In fact, I was so ugly I had to give the midwife gas in there before she delivered me. I know Mother used to look at me often in the cot. And she'd say to my father, "I don't know what to make of him." And my father used to say, "Have you thought of a rug?" Well, basically, we were a poor but poverty-stricken family.
You had an ambition to write.
Yeah.
What did you want to write?
Essays.
Why essays, Les?
I don't know. I like words. I think the only one I was ever proud. I went to Paris initially to write them, but I used to want to write things in the vein like Elijah Lamb or something like this, you know, lovely prose sort of thing. Hoarfrost hanging delicately from sodden leaves or something like this, you know.
Tell me about Paris. You wanted to have a sort of left bank existence.
Well, I thought Paris was the place to gravitate to. I mean, it's not really. If you're going to write a novel, you should do it in Bradford. Because there's too many distractions in Paris, you know.
How long were you there?
About 18 months, actually.
Why did you come back? Why did you leave Paris?
I was broke.
Is Paris a favourite thing to go back to?
Oh, I think Paris is a lovely city, yeah. To me, it's like a spoilt woman, Paris, you know. I love Paris. It's very nice. It's wasted on the French, totally, you know.
So you'd done some piano playing in the army and in Paris. When did comicking come into it?
Well, I used to play the piano and sing and tell a few gags, especially when I sang and played the piano. But acting those days was dreadful. I mean, it really was bad. Would you like to see a little gobbet, would you?
I'd love to, yes. What did you do?
Well, this is...
You sat yourself at the piano.
Well, I found it more comfortable that way. And this was the sort of thing I used to do. Hi. And this terrible grimace. All the fillings showing. I've got quite a few fillings, you know. In fact, my gums have got metal fatigue.
Oh, yes.
And I go, hi there. Yeah, I just love being here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to play you a little song, and I hope you like it. Hey, you me, man, and the blue brown blue. Hey, my baby, on the blue brown blue. My baby, coming home tonight. And I used to get paid off.
Yes,
Quite regular. And then, after I was living in London for quite some time. I was living in a cubicle with a plug point, passed as a flat. And I went round all the clubs and so on, and all the agents. Got the usual thing, you know, we'll let you know. We'll ring you, which was hard to do because I hadn't got a phone. That didn't dawn on me for months after. And I went to see an agent, Al Heath, his name was. He's still in existence. And he gave me a week's booking for 16 quid in Hull.
Yes.
Have you ever been to Hull?
Doing that same act?
Yes.
Yes.
Totally. To all these hardened fisher folk, men with salt creased into the lines of the faces, hard men. And on I went. I just want to say what a great place to be in Hull. I've been here before, but it was shut. You see? Which got roars of silence.
Of course.
You know, I was getting crouching ovations. And on the Wednesday, I couldn't take much, but it began to dawn on me that by this time, failure was a stark reality. Really failure. I mean, I was lucky. I mean, my only ambition in those days was for luxuries in life, like bread and shoes. You know, I think it was getting worse. And on the Thursday, I did the time-honoured mistake, although in this case it worked, of going for a few drinks. And I drank more than I should have done.
Right. This
So
was
that
before
night,
your show?
Yes. That night I got the piano. Then it's a great pleasure to be in this Kipper depot, and found that I was playing off key. You know, terrible things like that. Started telling about my life and how bad things were. And for the first time in my checkered career, somebody clapped in the corner, a little bald-headed man clapped in the corner. I said, thank you for clapping. He said, I'm not clapping, I'm slapping my head to keep awake. But then I started to get a few laughs, and that's how it started. Yeah. So I owe Hull quite a lot, actually.
In 1984, Les became host of the popular game show Blankety Blank. He spent 6 years on the show. During this time, he lost his first wife, Margaret, to cancer, suffered his own health problems, married his second wife, Tracy, and wrote a biography that he would shamelessly plug in this appearance on The Wogan Show.
So you feel, Tel?
I'm okay. You're looking very fit.
Well, I feel fit, actually. I'm a great believer in exercise. Can't be bad, the band laughed. If you excuse the phrase band.
Yeah.
No,
Don't start them off. Don't.
I've had to put up with them for 6 weeks. Listen, it's not... I don't know what people think of the audience, but everybody just leaps up and down today. That's the thing to be fit. But take the turtle. In the South Sea, there are turtles that live to 200 years of age. What does a turtle do? it crawls. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it does nothing else. Now, that's exercise. No,
Please.
I believe in every morning. I wake up, I go 1, 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, then the other eyelid. Fit as a fiddle and every artery is as solid as a rock. There's too much rubbish talked about exercise. Sloth is the key to life. Doing nothing, as I've written in the book. Giving things up. Yeah, seriously.
But don't you even take a little gentle exercise? I mean, you potter about in the garden.
Well, there's nothing wrong with... What's wrong with pot? Well, no, gardening's bad for you.
Is it?
Oh, yes. The only way to get over gardening is, particularly for a married man, because women are obsessed with the idea that a man should be doing something. Wives don't like somebody who sits there.
Yeah.
There's something wrong,
Yeah.
you see.
Yeah.
So what you do is you buy a small plant and you put it in the garden and you deliberately pull the leaves off so the thing looks as though it's dying. She comes out and says, and you say, I just don't know, I haven't got green fingers. She says, well, your neck's a funny colour, but that's got nothing to do with it. That was a joke to tell at ease. So, then you buy another plant, and you say to her, will you ever go at the first plant? And she pours a little water over it. Now, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you sneak out, put a chloroform pad over the first. You sneak out and you change the flowers over. So the new flower has grown. And she said, there, I'll love you in future. I'll do the gardening.
What a rascal.
Yes!
Another fine mess.
And
Now,
it's
look,
all there.
what about the grouting and the rendering and the DIY and that kind of stuff?
Well, you must always avoid that like the plague.
Yeah.
Always keep away from do it yourself.
You don't fancy extending the house, or...
No, because you see, the trouble is, if you have people in this, if you have builders in to do the house up, the first thing they will do is they will go, shh. Now, you've lived in that house for years, you're proud of it, it's your domain, it's where your children have their nest, and you're happy with that house. Suddenly this fella comes in with overalls, takes a few measurements and goes, and then he sighs, they all go, which means that for years you've been living in a Gothic slum and you didn't know it. So you've got to keep well away from that. What you do, you go to a theatrical agency and find an actor who's not worked for years, right? Or even Lionel Blair, something like that. Get them to come round and say, what a magnificent house! You would be a fool to change it. Leave it as is. It's the art of getting no stress.
Stress-free life. But then, why get married if you want a stress-free life? And you've just done that.
Well, yes, you've got a good point there, but I'm very lucky.
Yeah?
Yes, she does, I mean, she does things her way, and I do things her way.
Does she nag?
She never nags. I've found the perfect answer to nagging. It's called half a brick. No, she doesn't nag at all. We get guidance. I get guidance off Tracy.
Do you?
But that's all. Yeah, she guides me very gently. No, there's no stress at all. It's, I'm so happy. It's just lovely to be on the show. It's like being on the Titanic, being on this show.
Such a quality act.
What? I never knew you had an audience, and I was right. Now, listen.
Doesn't she take you shopping? You go shopping with her now. Come on, don't tell me you get out of that.
Well, that's quite easy, shopping. That's very easy to avoid that.
Yeah?
You see, the trouble with women is, economically, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it again,
Thank goodness.
they're tremendous economists. You see, now, I'm very lucky with Tracy. Not many men in the audience tonight can say the same thing. She saves me every time she goes shopping. Like the other week, she went to Harrods, and she came back, and she'd saved me £80.
That's terrific.
It only cost me 200.
No.
But she'd saved me 80. You see, so I'm lucky. Yeah, I'm lucky.
And you believe in letting it all hang out, don't you? You've always been one of those.
Well,
I was
no,
saying
the
that
police are getting very interested in that. Sorry?
You're just saying that you're known in the business as the stud, apart from anything else. And you do, you
Really?
you haven't restricted your... You haven't restricted... You haven't... I mean, you had a small illness there, and you had a small illness some time ago. Now, you must have had the doctor go around saying, look, cut down on the fags, cut down on the drinking, cut down on the eating. You mean you've just taken no notice?
Well, no, that's not strictly true. They all gave me these, except, as everybody knows in the audience, if you've had a slight illness, straight away there seems to be a power surrounding us which suddenly predetermines that you are now suspect for every germ, microbe that ever coexisted on this planet. You're going to get it. So, first of all, the greybeards come round and they look at the size of you, the weight, first of all. They looked at my stomach, which we all have to do, because that's the way it is. That had to go. They said, you'll have to diet. I said, what colour? I did all the gags. It didn't make any difference. First of all, lose weight. Don't smoke. Don't drink. And breathing can be difficult because there's toxic fumes in the air. So what do you do, Terry?
I don't know.
You come on this show. No. All you can do is do what you think is right, so I didn't do anything. I've given up the fags. I smoke cigars now.
Didn't you have some technique with the doctor of the suits?
Oh, yeah. No, I put this in the book, and I hope you don't mind me plugging the book. No. The idea is, and this is a worthwhile tip, appearances matter to everybody. So you buy a suit that's slightly too small, and they go, you are a mess. You look like a frankfurter about to burst. Right? Now, your other suit that you buy fits, but it's just a bit too big. Now the doctor says, you've listened. You've been on the F plan, you've listened, you've spent your time in the loo, you've listened. You've got rid of all that toxic waste. You are now a person. You're going thin, and to be thin today means to be healthy. And you feel great because he doesn't know that the suit's a bit bigger. Now, the third suit's got to be enormous. And preferably with a hat that's too big. Now when you go to see him, he says, my God, you've gone too far. Get some steak and chips down you straight away, and you're back to square one.
Despite all you say, you're an old traditionalist at heart, aren't you? You're going to do panto this year, Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk at Sunderland, yes, but nice. I am Gannell, they'll be great, we're great. Two nice people, Rosemary and Diamond and Leighton, a nice team, yeah. So it's been a busy year with the book and the...
You're doing it to avoid the in-laws, aren't you? The panto.
No, my in-laws are fabulous.
Are they?
Oh, you're joking, yeah. I'm a bit... Well, you've got a nice show going for, I don't know why she did. The wife's mother went to Sydney last week to see her sister who works over there as a bricklayer and that. Apparently they went swimming off Bondi Beach and the wife's mother was attacked by a great white shark. Yeah, they pulled her out all night. They worked in the hospital, but it was too late. The shark died.
I had a feeling that it would. Everybody's very pleased that you're so happily remarried and that Tracy, your wife's looking after you so well.
Well, we still got the wedding present.
Have you? Good.
Yeah, it's still ticking away there.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Les Dawson.
Yeah.
4 years after that appearance, in 1993, Les died of a sudden heart attack. He was 62. Since then, he's been cited as a major influence and inspiration for many of today's comedians. So, let's end with one of the routines that made his peers and the public fall for him so heavily. It's from a 1976 appearance on Parkinson, with Les playing up whilst playing the piano.
We'll start off with Side by Side, so let's hear you sing. You ready? Raise the roof. It won't take much doing. The guttering's on the inside. Now, wait a minute. This sounds like an asthma clinic. Try it again. You haven't paid. Go on. That's it. Oh, come on, come on. Try this one. The bells are ringing for me and my gal. That's it. That's the idea. Give it up. It just flows. My father always said if you can play the piano, son, you'll never be short of a bob or two. Wrong.
His fingers at the keys and the audience in the palm of his hand. That was a comedy master at work. No wonder that Les Dawson is known as one of Britain's best ever, best-loved funny men.
There is a wealth of mirth for you to enjoy from One Foot in the Grave to Nighty Night. Just two of the delights on offer in the Classic Comedy Collection, available now on BBC iPlayer.